invite Dr. Ravindra to speak about the book that brings us all here today, The Pillar Invisible. Dr. Ravindra.
First of all, let me congratulate Dr. Hari Parameshwar on bringing out this unique novel. Well, I was wondering why I was chosen to really either speak about it or do the honors of handing over the first copy. But as I went through the novel, I found a kind of a close bond between what has been portrayed there and then some of my own thoughts and ideas. As you know, this is the pillar invisible. So we all, while starting to read the book, start wondering what is this invisible thing. And I must say, in the first place, the author has kept the suspense very well, almost towards the end. We just don't know what is going to happen. I think that is one of the good hallmarks of a good novel, is that it keeps your interest alive till you reach the last page. So certainly congratulations to you on that. Well, it opens with in a very dramatic fashion in a newspaper office. So the media naturally very keen to investigate about not a scandal. Very strangely, I think this is another big difference. Usually journalists get into investigating big scandals, but here they are wondering what is it that there is a very big and a very unique company which seems to be perfect in almost all respects. How can that be? And therefore starts that investigation, and then we enter the entire drama. There are a couple of things. Number one, the story. In reviewing a novel and looking at it, I look at it in three different segments: the content or the story. Number two, the characters. Number three, what is exactly the impact or what comes through out of it, what sticks to our mind and all that. Story is about three corporate giants. They are all big in their own way. They are all successful. They build empires. But at the same time, there is some kind of inner struggle going on within them. There are a lot of problems. They are not really happy. They have everything material. They have success, but at the same time, there is something incomplete in each of them. And therefore, it goes on. Each one's life is portrayed, not merely climbing to the ladder of corporate success, but the family struggles and then inner temptations that one comes across in society while dealing with people and all that. So, in view of the fact that the time is so short, I'll just sum up. I think when we come to the characters, these are three characters representing the three different qualities altogether. And this is where I think the Hari, being Hari and Parameshwara, tries to bring in the Hindu philosophy of exactly what Hari, in the form of Krishna, tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. He speaks about the three gunas, the three qualities which are Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. This is a unique contribution of Indian philosophy to the world thought, I would say, if many of us don't realize. And in the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, Sattvam, Rajas, Tama, iti gunaha prakriti sambhava. These three qualities, Sattva representing the positive, the very unique goodness, all that is noble and good in life. That is one. Rajas is something, you're passionate, you're agile, you want to do something, you're aggressive. That is Rajas. And Tamas represents, ignorance, laziness, taking life easy. So these are the three qualities that you will find. You take any human being, all the three qualities are present in some way or the other. And that is what happens to all of us. But what is preponderant in a human being, then you call him a very good and noble being. That is, he is a sattvic person, he is a rajasic person, he is a tamasic person. So these three qualities are represented in these three characters. But I think the climax this is where I think what really comes out of the book is that, very interestingly, that all of them, are going through all the struggles and the problems, etc., from different walks of life and different streams. they somehow come together in some place, in a what is called Atmalaya, is it? In a place, in order to find what is really troubling them and what will make their life complete. And that is where the fourth pillar comes in, the invisible. And there, anyway, so that is a new company that is formed by all the three. And wonder of wonders, they all come to feel and they think that it is time that they give back something to society. And imagine a company trying to give about 37% of their profits in the first year to social causes. Today, we are struggling to persuade companies to part with 2% of what of their profits, as mandated by the law. So many of them, most of them, not Kiran Mazumdar Shah's company, certainly, they're all trying to see how they can avoid the 2%, bring it down to 1%, or see that we have done everything ourselves. So there is no need to give it to others. That is the so maybe in a very, very timely book. And unusual, as I said, in a novel, we don't usually look for a lesson or a message. You read a novel to enjoy it. It is racy, it is passionate. There is a love story or a struggle, something. Passion, envy, jealousy. All these things, figure in a novel. But here is something unusual, where after reading the novel, you'll feel is there something a lesson for all of us, especially for the corporates or anybody, who earns something, and what is there to give back to the company. Can we, in short, set up, or can a company evolve into an ethical company? I don't know whether there is really 100% ethical company. But anyway, there are a number of them in Bangalore itself, whether it is Infosys or Biocon, or maybe even a number of them are there, who are quite, who are examples and models of how a company should be run. But then this throws out a big question to all of us. It's not giving back, and that is going to be the theme of the discussion of the panel, so I will not dwell on that.